What happens when you combine the Predator Freak, the X Ghosted, and the Copa Sense from the Adi brand? Well, the answer to that question is this boot right here, the limited edition PredCopX, bearing a retail price of $300, which combines the sole plate and stud pattern tooling from the X Ghosted, the upper from the Copa Sense 0.1, and the demon skin spikes from the Predator Freak. Nothing from the Nemesis though, because, I mean, look at them. If you're a self-proclaimed boot nerd like myself, you've probably put way too much time into thinking about combining a bunch of different features to create the ultimate football boot, but we never really expect any of the big brands to Frankenstein their own products into one. But that's effectively what Adi have done here with the PredCopX, and not only have they done it, they've actually created a final product where I think there's an argument to be made that this is actually their best top-end football boot currently on offer. With that said, they're not perfect, and I want to go over what I like and dislike about the boots. I want to go over all the technical details, and I also want to discuss who this football boot is actually for, because I think it's a pretty common situation to find yourself in where you know you want an Adidas product, but you don't know if you want an X or a Predator or a Copa or an X or whatever two boots you're in between. Is combining them all into one the answer to that issue? I'm not entirely sure, but I want to discuss it in this video. We'll also, of course, take a look at how they fit and feel on feet. So if you're interested in learning more, please stick around and watch the entire review. And if you are interested in a pair of these limited edition boots for yourself, you can click the first link down below. That's going to take you to the review page on my website, where you'll find buy it now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes, where you'll actually be able to pick these up below their normal $300 retail price. As always, if you guys do end up enjoying the review, please don't forget to support it with a like. And I've also noticed that a lot of you guys who watch my content aren't actually subscribed to the channel. If that's you, it would mean a lot to me if you could hit that subscribe button along with the little bell notification so you get notified when the next new video goes live. So first things first, let's discuss the elephant in the room, and that is the colorway, because I think the design as a whole actually looks pretty good. And admittedly, I think that these look significantly better on feet, as you guys will see later in the video. And the color choices that they've gone for here definitely highlight the fact that this combines different elements from the Predator, the Copa, and the X. They wanted some separation between all of these bits, which doesn't make for the most cohesive looking colorway, let's say, but it also matches the colors of the Uniforia ball that of course will be used in the Euro 2020, now Euro 2021 tournament. So I understand Adi's logic there. Nonetheless, swap out the pink laces for some black ones from sr4ulaces.com. It kind of tones down the pink for the most part, and then you just have a mostly black upper with some neon yellow and pink and orange accents. It's more subtle than you'd expect them to be, and again, not my favorite colorway in the world, but I don't think they're as ugly as some people are making them out to be. Looks aside, what Adi have created here is something that I don't think anybody would have expected. And yes, they've dabbled in this kind of Frankenstein football boot concept in the past with things like the Predator Archive and a lot of these Predator remakes and Copa remakes that have kind of the old style upper in combination with the modern style tooling. Nike have done things like this in the past as well. Most big brands have, but this is to an extreme that I don't think we've ever seen before, and the fact that it's combining all of their modern offerings is something that's just pretty unheard of in the football boot world. And I think the choices that Adi have made have actually been pretty good. And honestly, I feel like this is a football boot that was created specifically for the enthusiasts that have been screaming for certain things. They have more or less delivered it with this boot, although they could have done that little bit better, I'll be honest. What I think is great about these is, one, the Predator Freak spikes, the demon skin spikes that are scattered pretty much throughout the entire upper, very similar to what you're going to find on either of the Predator Freak 0.1 models, either the low or the mid, providing a ton of additional grip on the ball. There's really nothing more that needs to be said about this. This is one of the most impactful football boot technologies, not just in current model football boots, but pretty much ever. The additional grip will not go unnoticed, and it really does make a big difference in terms of generating spin on the ball and in terms of controlling the ball as well. If you like having that extra grip, I think this is definitely going to help you out. The base upper is taken from the Copa Sense 0.1, which maybe seems like a little bit of an odd choice because that's probably one of the least popular top-end models from the Adi brand, but what that does grant you is the kangaroo leather running through the forefoot, and something that a lot of longtime Predator fans have been screaming for is that the modern Predators are not available with the kangaroo leather upper. You are more or less getting that, or at least a partial leather upper here, on this PredCopX, where the leather pretty much runs through the forefoot exactly like you would find on a Sense Point 1. It's admittedly not very much leather. It ends basically right here on the medial side, where there back you have that memory foam insert, and then the midfoot back is kind of like a thinner synthetic, where on the lateral side, the cutoff point is kind of right around this general area. So the soft kangaroo leather, which is softer than a regular Copa Sense Point 1, by the way, is only really found in the toe box and part of the forefoot, but it still feels really nice, although admittedly, I think the main takeaway from this boot is it doesn't feel overly leather-like. It's very soft and comfortable through the toe box area, but the thinner, kind of slightly more structured synthetic material through the midfoot is more or less what you feel mostly when the boots are on feet. So that would be one of my main complaints here, is that I wish the boot had more leather and was overall just a little bit softer all the way through. But from a structure, lockdown, and responsiveness standpoint, the route that they've gone with pretty much the Copa Sense Point 1 upper actually works really well. Something that a lot of people have also been screaming for in this Predator community is for a regular standalone tongue. And of course, they didn't give us a fold-over flap with an elasticated strap, but you do get a central lacing system, again taken from the Copa Sense Point 1, with a standalone tongue, which is very refreshing and also kind of relates this boot a little bit back to the F50 Adi Zero days, where they did have a standalone tongue and a central lacing system, which I am personally a big fan of. Running through the heel area, you're going to find a low-cut design with a little bit of an extended tail. This is again taken from the Copa Sense Point 1, but then if you look at the heel liner, you do have the Sense pods, which are these memory foam kind of bump outs, but they're lined in this soft synthetic suede material, which is nowhere near as sticky or as grippy against your heels as what you're going to find from the regular Copa Sense Plus or Sense Point 1, which I personally do not like at all. And admittedly, this is still not my favorite heel liner from the Adi brand. I really wish they would have incorporated something from the X Ghosted line, but as it is, this is a gigantic improvement over the regular versions of the Copa Sense, and it does provide adequate heel lockdown. As far as the insole is concerned, that is completely removable and is kind of this weird mashup hybrid. Not really super noticeable, but I like what they did here. You can see it has the X Ghosted Plus branding and graphics, but they put the little inserts of the bump outs that are taken from the Copa Sense, which is completely unnecessary, but it's kind of a very nerdy thing to do in that they've even combined different elements from different insoles on this PredCopX kind of hybrid boot, which is pretty cool. And then it's made from a single layer of this white foam. Moving to the base of the boot, this is where you're going to find the speed frame tooling from the X Ghosted line. Both the Plus and Point 1 have the exact same setup. You do, of course, get the external heel counter, which I am personally a big fan of, both in terms of feel as well as looks. And then you have the sole plate with the signature Carbitex insert, which is a very special carbon fiber material that's basically a plate that runs from the forefoot into the midfoot that provides this kind of responsiveness, this return of energy when your foot is bent. It's a very subtle thing in terms of what you're actually going to be able to feel as far as true energy return, but it's very noticeable in terms of giving significant structure to the forefoot where there's no stud pressure whatsoever, and you can definitely tell that there's something underneath your foot that's giving you this little bit of feedback, which is something that, again, doesn't really relate to any other football boot that's currently available, and I think is one of the most meaningful technological advancements, again, in modern day football boots. For me, this is the best implementation of carbon fiber that we've ever seen in football boot history, and the fact that they've combined that element, this sole plate, with the demon skin spikes and some kangaroo leather, I think is really what needs to be applauded from the Adi brand with this hybrid football boot, because that, again, if you look at what the football boot community has been screaming for basically the last several years, it's this combination of features, and I love the fact that they've actually given it to us. And then, of course, as far as the stud pattern is concerned, I think most people would agree that the X stud pattern is the best one from the Adi brand. They've, of course, given it to you, given that this is the tooling directly from the X Ghosted, which just means that it's a little bit more aggressive than what you would get from either the Copa or the Pred, while still combining elements from both of those boots. Which brings us to the weight, which admittedly is a little bit disappointed because I was hoping these were going to be a little bit lighter than they actually are. Not to say that they're heavy, but in a size 9.5 US, you can see that the PredCopX weighs in at 8.7 ounces, the equivalent of 247 grams, which is slightly lighter than what you're going to find from a Predator Freak, lighter than what you're going to find from the Copa Sense, but nowhere near as light as what you're going to find from the top-end Ghosted model. So even though this does use the lightweight tooling from their speed boot line, what they've done with the upper is clearly heavier and brings up the overall weight of the product. It's not speed boot light, but they're certainly not heavy. At the same time, because it combines all of Adidas's boots in one, it's kind of difficult to compare this to anything, even if the weight range kind of falls into the higher end of top-end football boots. So here they are on feet, and like I mentioned, I think that when you actually get them on feet, the boot has a little bit better shape to it, and they just look better overall, even if you don't like the colorway. And I also have them paired up with some black Pure Grip Socks Pro, which for those that don't know is my own brand of grip socks. The Pro version is the newer version with an upgraded material for the sock that's stretchier, softer. It just feels phenomenal, and they're available right now in either black or white for just $16.99 a pair. If you're interested in trying some out for yourself, the website to visit is puregripsocks.com, which will be linked down below in the description. Now, as far as how these fit and feel on feet, I like a lot about them, but I also feel like they could have been significantly more comfortable. And I think what I don't love about this boot is a lot of the elements from the Copa Sense 0.1, which if you guys saw my review on those, I kind of have all the same feelings about this upper. Yes, the kangaroo leather at the toe seems to be a little bit softer on this PredCopX for whatever reason, but the memory foam inserts on either side of the forefoot don't really do much in terms of overall comfort, and the material used through the midfoot, it's a really thin kind of textile-based synthetic that offers nice structure. When you tie the laces tight, it really hugs your foot, but it doesn't necessarily feel soft, it doesn't feel leather-like, and I think that's maybe some of the expectation that you would get from something that is branded as a Copa. Also, the heel liner. I did not like the Sense Pods on either the Sense 0.1 or Sense Plus from the Copa series. This because of the suede heel liner over top. It feels significantly more comfortable, although again, I would have preferred maybe a slightly more traditional heel liner. I just think that would have felt that much nicer, or even the bump out pads that you have on the Ghosted series would have been nice to have had as well. Either way, the cut of the upper on either side, because of the way they've done the Copa Sense 0.1, it's relatively low. So you can see it leaves the lacing system relatively wide across the top of the foot, which means that it's a lower volume football boot than you might expect. And also, because you also have the Ghosted sole plate that does have the raised toe or the raised forefoot, you don't get as much flexibility through the toe box area because of the leather. There's a lot more structure underneath your foot, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But again, if you're expecting these to feel like super soft kangaroo leather football boots, quite frankly, they just don't. As far as width is concerned, they have some decent width to them, but again, the structured material through the midfoot, especially if you have flatter feet like myself, just know that it's going to fit relatively snug and you're going to need a little bit of time to break them in. You might experience some minor foot cramping, but all in all, I think there's some decent width here. As long as you don't have super wide feet, they're going to fit most people. And of course, the regular tongue and central lacing system means that putting them on and taking them off will be significantly easier than most boots with a one-piece upper. And then as far as sizing is concerned, I'm wearing these in my usual size 9.5 US, and the fit and the length is perfect. So if you're looking to order a pair for yourself, I would strongly recommend going true to size in order to achieve the best possible fit. So in conclusion, I really like what Adi have done here. If you've been paying attention to the channel and you've been paying attention to Adi's recent limited edition releases, I've been really critical of them in creating a bunch of different football boots and a bunch of different products that more or less nobody was asking for and charging ridiculous prices for said products. But in the case of the PredCopX, yes, $300 is not inexpensive, but given that they're charging $350 for classic Predator remakes, it doesn't seem that crazy, and their laceless models are $275. It's a $25 premium for something that I think is legitimately pretty special. So I'm not really that upset about the price. What I love is that this is a football boot that really feels like it was for the people, for the hardcore football boot enthusiast community. And that's something that I don't think we see very much of these days, especially from the big brands. So as far as whether or not I can recommend this product to you, if you're part of the group of people that has been screaming for a low-cut kangaroo leather variant of the Predator with a more aggressive stud pattern, you should buy these. As an overall product, I think this appeals to somebody who's into the demon skin spikes of the Predator, but wanted something a little bit more speed boot-esque in terms of the outsole and stud pattern, not to mention a slightly softer kangaroo leather upper, or somebody that's into the X line and actually wants the additional grip from the demon skin spikes because you maintain the same tooling. I'm not sure there's a lot of crossover with the Copa Sense, and I feel like people who like that boot are just into that boot for whatever reason, but there's a lot to like about these, and as far as where they stand for me in Adi's current lineup and where I would rank them, I like these better than anything that they currently have on offer. They could definitely be more comfortable and they could definitely look a lot better, but for me, this is a strong contender for boot of the year. Anyways, guys, that's it for my review. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to support it with a like. Again, if you're interested in a pair of these for yourself, keep in mind they are limited edition, but you can get them below their normal retail price with some SR4U coupon codes using the first link down below. If you have any questions, as always, feel free to ask them down below in the comment section as well. If you aren't subscribed to the channel already, make sure you hit that subscribe button along with the little bell notification so you get notified when the next new video goes live. You can find all my social media information linked down below in the description as well. And other than that, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.